Welcome into another episode of the Brand X Podcast, episode 112. I am one of your co-hosts, John. Alongside me, Deuce.
Come stop, bitches.
Did you miss us?
Happy New Year, you rat bastard.
I know. Hey, we did happy birthday to you the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a story to tell you. And it's been hard because we've been down here. You are in the dungeon basement studio of the Brand X Podcast.
Mm-hmm.
We're back together again. Mano a mano, eyeball to eyeball.
In the midst of a remodel.
In the midst of a remodel. Yeah, we're going to do some different things for this.
You're going to take these poles out, right?
No, they're the ones that hold up the house.
Well, it'll open things up real nice.
Oh, it will.
Especially in the upstairs.
So, I got a story to tell you. About a week ago, Jimmy calls me on a Thursday in the morning, like he always does. And just, what's going on, blah, blah, blah.
Rise and shine.
Rise and shine. Usually he talks to me 2 or 3 times a day. I don't hear from him. So I don't hear from him that night, and I'm not really, because Thursday night's Rubberneckers night. It's very busy. So Friday, around, 3 o'clock, my cousin Mike calls me. I said, hey, what's going on? He goes, did you talk to Jimmy? I said, no, I haven't, not today. What's going on? He goes, he's in hospital.
Oh, wow.
So what happened to him? He was working on one of the rental properties. He walked up an A-frame. The A-frame fell out from under him. Whatever he was holding on to something. His one hand pulled away. He went sideways, landed sideways on the ladder, broke 5 ribs.
Shit.
I mean, broke 5 ribs.
Yeah, that's not a joke.
Oh. So he's in a hospital. And they have to let the ribs set because they're afraid that he was going to get, they could puncture his lung.
Right. And every breath he's taking, it's like getting stabbed.
So I talked to him. I couldn't get a hold of him Friday. I talked to him Saturday. And, this happened Thursday. And he's on pain medication. And every breath, every word is laboring because it hurts. I remember when I was 14 or 13, my dad broke 3 ribs. We were dirt biking. And he fell, and he broke 3 ribs. And he slept in a chair, a rocking chair, in our living room for the better part of 3 weeks before he could even do anything.
Mm.
So I can't imagine what's going on. So he might be coming home today, I think.
So this was last Thursday?
Last Thursday. He's been in there for a week.
Mm. He's probably gone stir crazy.
I know. So... Well, I guess he's watching, because the first thing, when I was in the hospital, the first thing I did was I turned on that stupid Me TV, and I was watching Ironside and Leave It to Beaver and Adam 12, all the old shows we used to watch back in the day. Because there's nothing else on TV during the day. What am I going to watch?
Oprah?
Yeah. Or
she's still on.
No, she's not.
Yeah, she's long gone.
The View. Cut me a break.
Dr. Phil. That's the ultimate job for me. I like to be Dr. Phil. I just want to be on TV and get paid to tell people that they suck. You suck.
Do you think that maybe there's something that you do that might cause this?
It's like my dream job. Just sit there and tell people they suck. And they can't punch you. And you get paid for this. Awesome.
Matt Walsh.
Matt Walsh?
Matt Walsh was on there, I don't know, a while ago. And he had 2...
Well, that was all part of his documentary. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they included that.
What is a Woman?
Yeah.
And he had 2...
Dudes,
but they weren't dudes. Like, they transitioned. But the one guy's
arose by any other name.
So these 2 dudes are dressed like women and...
With beards.
Right. It's like, you know what? You might pass if you fucking shave. Whatever. I don't care. So it was interesting. And I never went back to watch I think they had to take that one down. I think Dr. Phil took that
It was mentioned
down.
in Matt Walsh's documentary that after that aired, the 2 dudes and their organization, they solicited Dr. Phil and they never put it on because they didn't want to hurt the dude's feelings. So basically...
Right, because you can't say those words anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Although, I'm tired of people telling me what I can say and what I can't say. There's one word where I'm like, okay.
I figure I'm grandfathered in. Like if you grew up during the 70s, you get a pass. Oh, okay, you're over 55, you're good.
Yeah, but I just think it's disrespectful to people. You know what? If there's one word I got to give up, that's the one I'll give up. You know?
Well, there's a lot of stuff that isn't that old. Me and Superfan Dave were talking about it. Like even like in Living Color, which came out in the 90s. Like not like Handyman and all that's. I mean, it's gone. It's never coming back. You know, dressing up in drag, never coming back.
Oh, that's right.
All kinds of stuff that they did.
Yeah.
You know, the Wayans brothers. You know, they I forget her name, the character's name.
Yeah.
You know, and then you know the Tropic Thunder, where Robert Downey Jr. was like, but that was the joke. He was a white guy
In blackface.
in blackface, but he wasn't pretending to be a black guy. He was just like the joke was he was a method actor, and that's how he like Sean Penn. He would just get in the character and stay in character, and that was the joke. You know, and you know, it's all that stuff's done now.
So, yeah. So anyhow, where was I at? I lost where I was. My train of thought just went right out the damn window.
You're in the basement.
I know. So,
well, we started off with Dr. Phil.
All right, Dr. Phil, and then we got to Matt Walsh. Okay, and then daytime TV. Thank you.
Prior to that, it was to Jimmy in the hospital with 5 broken ribs, watching daytime TV,
So
ready to
daytime
come home.
TV. Yeah. So I don't watch TV anymore because every show sucks. Every show has a woke. They couldn't do Friends right now. Case in point. And we might have talked about. I don't know. I've talked so much about this on so many different shows that I might have talked about this. But I'll go back to the '90s show. That's '90s show. It's coming back out. Was that '70s?
Yeah, you and I mentioned that last podcast.
Right. So I'm excited. I want to watch it because I want to see how bad it is. Because how they're going to put Red? Like, how can Red be Red in that show? Like, how can he not just say?
Well, in the '90s, it might still be okay.
Well, it was okay in the '90s.
That's
yes,
what I mean. He might be okay,
but it's not okay in 2023. Again, I'm done with it. I'm done with all the people being offended. I could give a fuck less, and I'm serious about that. Same thing with this podcast. If you like it, fine. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. I don't give a shit. And if you don't,
podcast?
Yeah, our podcast.
Nah, they should listen whether they like it or not.
Oh, you think so?
Doesn't it help us?
Not really. Back to Matt Walsh. He has a problem now with pit bulls. He thinks they should get rid of all pit bulls. I understand. Listen, this guy, Matt, there's a lot of things I agree with him on, and there's a lot of things I don't agree with him on.
That's news to I must have missed that particular podcast because I listened to pretty much all of them.
It's on Twitter.
Oh, see, I'm not on that.
Right. So what happened was a little girl got mauled by a pit bull. Mm-hmm. And he's like, that's it. No more pit bulls. And I'm like, you're as bad as the left. There's a mass shooting, and they're like, that's it. No more assault weapons. And I'm like, can't you see the hypocrisy in what you're saying? He's like, no, that's not it. A gun doesn't just go off and kill people like a pit bull can. Okay, somewhat, but not all pit bulls do that. And not all people with guns go out and go to a Walmart and just start shooting people. I just think that the problem is we're not tolerant anymore with people. Look, I don't like pit bulls either.
Well, dogs are, whatever the popular breed is at the moment, that's the dog that gets the focus.
60s, it was German Shepherds. They were
the 70s, it was Doberman Pinschers. Bull Mastiffs.
Right.
They had their moment in the sun.
Yeah.
When my father was a kid, boxers were in style.
Yeah.
Like Petey, I think it was Petey and
Petey
the Little Rascals.
He was a pit bull.
I don't think he was a pit bull. I think he was some other kind of, it was another kind of a bulldog, but I'm not sure.
All right. We're going to the Google machine because I got to know.
I think that was a French boxer.
Let's find out.
Oui.
Petey.
They painted the Target symbol over his eye so he could advertise for Target. Target.
Petey the dog. Here we go. Petey the pup was a character in our gang comedies.
They must have had a couple of them because that ran for, well, they transitioned from the Little Rascals into our gang.
Correct. He was a UKC registered American Pit Bull Terrier named Pal the Wonder Dog.
Pal.
Right.
Oh, you know who I'm thinking of? Spuds McKenzie.
Spuds McKenzie
He was not a pit bull. I think he was the French thing.
Right. Hang on.
Because you used to have that Spuds McKenzie T-shirt.
I did have Spuds McKenzie T-shirt.
I have a lot of pictures of you in that T-shirt.
I love that T-shirt.
At WDBK.
He was a fictional dog, a bull terrier, used for extensive advertising campaign during the Bud Light beer in the late 80s. Yeah, you got Spuds in there. He's like, he's got glasses on. It's a Hawaiian shirt.
Chicks in bikinis.
Yeah.
Which you can't have that anymore. Now they be dudes in bikinis because, it's woke.
Jesus Christ.
Make me run out and buy that beer.
Yeah. So we caught some shade. No, I shouldn't say shade.
Us?
Yeah, we didn't catch some shade. Well, I don't know. Was listening to the Jason Mindy podcast.
Ah, that's a shout out.
That's a, that's a shout
That's
out.
not shade. I think if someone's like, besmirching your character. That was funny.
Well, she did say this.
Because Deuce and John, they don't know much about the vagina.
I think I got to take issue with you, Mindy. I'm not saying that I'm an expert on the vagina. I'm no gynecologist, but I know my way around a vagina.
I think she was referring to the odor aspect. Well, you're too sensitive.
I'm not saying that. Listen, I thought it was funny too. I'm not offended. I thought it was hysterical.
I messaged them back, and I think you probably saw this. I didn't know what was funnier. It was like Jason's discomfort with the whole issue, or Mindy laughing at Jason's discomfort with the whole issue. Because Jason really didn't want to talk about it.
You mean when he said this?
You're ruining people.
Right. Well, you got to look at it because Jason probably had his board up. This is what we're going to, all his bullet points of what they're going to talk about. And then in comes Mindy. She came in like a wrecking ball.
Right. But the thing about it was very informative.
It was great.
It was very informative. Now, listen, I'm not going to go through the whole show. I think you go to the latest episode. Let me find out which episode that was.
And you go listen to it.
Yeah, you go listen to it.
It's the filet you forgot about, I believe it's called.
Yeah, a filet you forgot about, the Jason and Mindy podcast. So go check that out. And I thought it was hysterical. Jason, you know what, with Jason, and again, love Jason. Absolutely love Jason. But man, I want the old Jason back. He's tiptoeing again. When he was in there, went to talk about something, and he was like, I'm going to say it woke. At first, he didn't know how to put it where he wouldn't offend people. Just say it.
Well,
woke.
I don't know. I understand that because you want to appeal to as many people as you can. Because if you alienate enough people, you're just going to be,
I guess,
me and you podcasting to each other like, well, we got 2 downloads. Great.
No, but you're going to find your people. You're going to find the people that find it ridiculous.
That's why I don't like to talk about politics as much as you do. You would just love it. You would just love 2 constant hours. I was like, even I get tired of it. Like, fuck, can't we talk about Oreo cookies or something?
Well, we can talk about
anything, anything but politics.
But I thought it was funny that Mindy went and did some research for the show, and I appreciate that, where she went and she described what could cause
it was like the 7 dwarves. It was like
the
seven different odors of the
vagina.
JJ. And why?
Yeah, what it was.
Yeah, who knew?
As soon as she said penny, I knew exactly what that was.
Yeah.
I knew that. Go over and listen
Well,
to
it makes sense. It's iron.
Yes.
Well, the old pennies were.
Copper.
Yeah, copper, which is an iron base, a ferrous metal, non-ferrous metal.
Yeah. That was an immediate pick your head up. Uh-oh. No. I can't even get into that story.
Yeah, you're just going to leave everyone curious. See, it just doesn't take much to twist your arm.
Well, I'm just
you
saying.
Don't tell the story. Don't tell the story.
No, I just feel. I one time back in the day was with a woman. We were.
As far as you know.
I know it was a woman.
I wasn't gender fluid back then.
Listen, I was close enough to the vagina to know that it was a woman. That being said, I got
the hatchet wound with
a
puberty blockers
penny taste in my mouth, and I was like, uh-oh, because it was dark, and I'm like, I don't know. Am I going to look like Bozo the Clown when I get out of here? Or
I got to earn your red wings?
Am I going to earn my red wings? So that's an immediate pick your head up and go, uh-oh. Holy cow. That's what happened there. Hey, quick question. In your house, do you have a gas or electric stove?
Gas, everything.
All right. So did you hear the story?
Well, this bullshit, as usual, started in California. They started this stuff first with banning gas stoves.
So now it's a federal agency reportedly considers ban on gas stoves on the heels of rising concerns of harmful indoor air pollutants emitted by the appliances.
After 100 years.
Right. And back in our day, both parents would be smoking in the house. The whole house would smell like cigarettes and cigars or pipe tobacco or whatever the hell they were smoking.
Well, I read a couple of the articles, and the one thing that no one's addressing is the appliances that we grew up with, they were pilots.
Yeah, they burn all the time.
They just had gas leaking not leaking, but there was a slow gas stream in your heater, your hot water heater, and your stove.
Yeah.
So there was always like a slow stream of gas, and then you would turn the stove on, and then it would just release more gas, and then it would ignite the rest of the burners. And if it went out, the pilot light went out, you had to go in there with a match and relight it. You know, they're not even addressing. So how could these, and I don't really care about this issue except that it's absurd. If they ban my stove and my furnace, then I'll care because I don't want to go to electric. But they're not even addressing that issue that up until about 30 years ago, there wasn't electronic igniters to start your hot water heater, your furnace, or your stove. They just leaked gas
the whole time. It was just like
24/7,
an eternal flame, basically. To be clear, the SPSC, what does that stand for? To tell you, I hate when they say Consumer Product Safety Commission said that the gas stove's usage has a hidden hazard, which can be a health issue, including respiratory problems in children. Any option on the table, products that can't be made safe can be banned. That's what they said.
And that's the problem because they'll put a Herculean task on top of these companies to make them safe. That'll be like financially untenable.
Correct.
And it's like, and then just say, well, screw it, we're not going to make them. And they'll just make electric stoves and furnaces and whatever, and everyone's energy costs will go up.
No more fire in the kitchen. Cities are banning natural gas in homes to save the planet. Now, this started just yesterday with the governor from New York. Hochul. She now wants to make it where any new homes built will not be able to have natural gas service.
I think California did the same thing.
Are you kidding me?
About look it up. I'm not sure. I remember seeing it sometime last year where Nancy Pelosi's nephew signed that into law. Gavin Newsom.
I don't see anything in here and I'm just doing a quick Google search.
It might be maybe just stoves. It might be, but I thought it was heat as well.
Yeah, and again, Southern California, no big deal because they really don't use heat that much there. They're more air conditioning.
Well, depends where you're at. We're mentioning Jason and Mindy again. They lived in a higher elevation. Even though they were an hour outside of L.A., they lived up in the mountains, and they would get occasional snowfall.
Oh, that's right.
That indicates to me you need heat.
That's true.
I mean, I'm no Sherlock Holmes, but...
Here's another story. This is out of Vox. Gas stoves can generate unsafe levels of indoor air pollution.
But that marijuana that you're legally allowed to smoke at home, no problem.
There's no problem with that whatsoever. Now, I remember here in this house one time, I had to change the stove here because, and again, I don't know what happened, but I have a CO2 alarm. Mm-hmm. And I'm in here cooking, and all of a sudden the CO2 alarm goes off. So I'm like, well, that can't be good. I've never had it go off before. Never, ever. I've cooked some bacon, set off the smoke detector, but never the CO2 detector. I was like, screw it. And it was at night, too. It was like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, nobody's going to come out here.
Isn't CO2 carbon dioxide?
Well, whatever.
You're talking about carbon monoxide.
Yeah, whatever.
Carbon monoxide.
Whatever kills you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they'll both do a number on you. But I know what you're saying. Carbon monoxide is what they put in the smoke detectors now.
So I call up the PSE&G, which is the public service and gas company here. And I said, hey, my carbon monoxide detector's going off, and I'm not sure why. And they said, hey, open up all the doors and windows or leave the house, and we'll send someone right over. And within 10 minutes, a guy pulls up. And he comes over and he's got this sniffer. And he comes in, he's sniffing, he gets around the stove, and he's like, this thing just starts going crazy. So he says, yeah, there's something wrong with your stove here. And I think that stove was old enough that it had the pilot lights in it. Mm-hmm. Didn't have the clickers. He says, yeah, you got to shut this stove off. So he helped. We pulled the stove out and we shut the gas off to the stove. So we put a new stove in. But that was the first time I ever had a problem with that. Because I'm thinking to myself, I'm stupid. I'll go to bed. Next thing you know, I'll die in my sleep of...
Well, unless you're stapling yourself to the ceiling, it takes a long time for that.
But no, that gas stays low. It builds up.
Right. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Well, what I mean is because it doesn't make sense. They make all the houses now. You have to have a smoke detector with a built-in carbon monoxide detector.
No, mine. Okay.
So smoke
is up high.
goes to the ceiling. That makes sense.
Right.
So it was stupid of them to put the carbon monoxide detector up there.
Yeah, but by the time it gets in there, everybody
Right.
else is
Yeah,
dead.
you're already dead.
Right.
Yeah. So I kind of misspoke. What I meant to say was, if you're sleeping on the ceiling, you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
So,
But mine was down on the floor. Mine was, you plugged it into an outlet, which was down lower. And at first I said, well, why is it down there? And they said, oh, that's because that's the gas is heavier gas that stays down there.
see, I'm going to probably shoot myself in the foot for saying this, but to me, because I have apartments and I have to contend with this stuff all the time, why isn't somebody inventing an electrical socket with a built-in carbon monoxide detector? That way you just wire them through your house and in every room of your house. All you need is just one. So because what's an electrical socket? Like 18 to 24 inches above the floor? It's a no-brainer. Now someone's going to run out there and fucking invent this, and I'm going to be left out in the cold. That's why I'm hesitant to say shit like this.
Well, the ones they have now.
They're plug-in and everything, but they,
Yeah, the ones they have now, because I just bought one. I just bought a new one for here because the old one was chirping.
Yeah, they only last about 10 years.
Right. So I just bought one, and what you do is you plug it in and you set it on I have an end table, and it's 12 inches off the floor, and it just sits there.
Yeah.
And now it works. I mean, again, I go back to the thing where government is getting into everything. Like there are parents now. Can't have a gas stove. We're not going to put gas heaters in anymore. You have to use electric heaters. Well, what if we lose electricity?
I still don't know where they're going to get all this magic electricity from.
Well, down in Florida, they said, hey, listen, I understand what you're saying, but when we had these hurricanes and there was no electricity, we still had gas. Mm-hmm. We could still cook. We could still boil our water. We could still do all those things. We can't do that now.
Did you see the whales washing up in the beach in New Jersey?
I saw one. How many washed up?
Something like 6 whales in the last however many weeks have washed up. And the reason for this is because they're doing surveying to put these 1,000-foot wind turbines off the coast, and it fucks up their sonar, evidently. It works on the same frequency as a whale's sonar, so I guess they get disoriented when they're just washing up on the beach. And they die, because the water supports their weight. They suffocate eventually when the tide goes out. And this is an initiative Fuckface Phil put in. They're going to build all these 1,000-foot wind turbines off the Jersey shores, so that's going to look real nice. And not to mention the millions of birds it's going to slaughter, but the fishermen are coming out because it's going to destroy their way of life, because it's going to destroy mollusks and clams and the fish that go in there, and it's like a big. Can't we just drill? It's like, is this worked real well for like 100 years? Can't we just have gas and oil and have a nice view off the beach?
Listen, if this worked, I'd be all for it. But it really doesn't do anything. It doesn't work. I mean, right now, if you go to Atlantic City, they have on the Bayside, they have a bunch of these.
5 of them, and I've only seen one turn at any given. I've never seen all 5 of them working, ever. Right. And I used to work in Atlantic City, so I used to drive past. That's how long those things have been down there.
Right.
Okay. I used to drive by them, and 1 or 2 at the most will be turning at any given time. They put up 5 of them. And when those things catch fire, there's nothing you can do. They just let them burn to the ground. Which in the ocean, I'm sure that's not an environmental hazard.
No.
But John having a gas stove,
no,
we got to put an end to that.
Right. They said the AOC, she says, yes, it harms the gas stoves, irritate asthma. Well, I've had asthma since I was 2 years old. Never had an asthma attack in a house because of a gas stove.
I did see the thing where it says that gas stoves cause brain damage. I said, well, clearly she grew up in a house with a gas stove, but that was low-hanging fruit.
There must have been one in every room.
I'm sure everybody was thinking, well, AOC must be living proof of that.
Oh, my God. So anyhow, yeah, they're going to come for your gas stoves.
They're coming after it because it's cheaper than electric. It's cheaper than heating. I mean, if you have electric everything, it costs a fortune to run your household.
I know.
And that's why they're after natural gas, because it's way cheaper. I mean, case in point, we had that cold snap the day before Christmas. It dropped down to like what, 12 degrees?
Yeah.
On the Friday before Christmas. And the day here in Jersey, the day started off like 45 degrees. I went into work, it was 45 degrees. And when we left, it was 15. So it dropped 30 degrees, say, in a 12-hour span. So naturally, what's going to happen is you're going to increase your heat. Hey, it's cold in here. Woo. And your thermostat's going to kick on more often. So my friend of mine has an electric furnace. And his electric bill came in for that month, and it was almost $500, where my natural gas bill just came in, and it was $189.
Yeah,
that's why they're after natural gas.
Yeah,
because General Electric needs to make money.
It's amazing. So anyhow, what did you think about the whole Speaker of the House, 13 votes?
Oh, it's great.
I liked it.
It was a win.
I think it was.
And they defunded the 87,000 angry accountants from the IRS, so they're not going to have a job. That's the first thing they did. And yeah, we're not doing that.
Well, can they do that now? Because if it goes back, they put a bill to defund it. Now if it goes to the Senate.
All spending comes from the House.
Beautiful.
That's why the House is more, is kind of important. The Senate really doesn't do anything anymore. They abdicated their power. Which
so did the House.
Well, they all did, but
right.
The Senate basically is there to advising consent on judge appointments and ratify treaties, and they're there to represent the state's interests. But that hasn't happened since the 17th Amendment, which this is how you get on a tangent. Yeah, which they should repeal, but
All right. So finally, I think what they did, in my humble opinion, and I'm sure people bitch and moan at me, was that the 20 people that held out got concessions where now the House of Representatives should start to work like the House of Representatives used to work, where people get the bills, they get them 72 hours before the vote. Mm-hmm. You didn't do that. There's like, here's the bill, here's 4,000-page bill, we're going to vote on it. Well, how do I know what's in it? Well, you got to vote it in to find out what's in it.
Yeah.
That's not how any of this works.
Surprise.
Yeah. That's how we got the 87,000 IRS agents. And also, you couldn't put an amendment. You couldn't have any kind of amendment.
A lot of those rules that they wanted were there, but bug-eyed Nancy Pelosi, because Democrats and communists, but then I repeat myself, they love more power, and that's all done by design. They did away with the one member vacating of the seat bill. Bug-eyed Nancy did away with that. Thomas Jefferson wrote about that, and he was president from 1800 to 1808. Well, 1801 to 1809. That was in effect for like 200 years. But
yeah,
power-hungry, bug-eyed alcoholics with bad-fitting dentures didn't like that.
And big fucking fake tits.
I don't know.
Oh, my God.
She repels me. I find her repellent. So she reminds me of one of the Slee Stack from Land of the Lost. That old TV show from Saturday morning.
Yeah. I think they should have an age limit on.
Well, you say that, but we had way too many legislators that were not repellent, that were viable and productive.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have a test. So I got to run something by you. I know you don't like talking about politics.
Yeah,
but
this is like...
I don't care.
I drove all the way over here for this.
Yeah, you did. Because I got to know.
Lured me in with a fucking cheesesteak. That was it.
That's what I do.
Why don't you just drive around in a white van that says free cheesesteaks on it and just like...
I know. So the reason that...
By the way, thanks for the cheesesteak.
You're quite welcome. We couldn't come back in here one time and not have Cicanti's, as lunch or dinner or whatever we used to do. All right, so now the Freedom Caucus was the guys that started all this crap. I'm a big fan of the Freedom Caucus. I like the Freedom Caucus better than I like Republicans.
Well, you have the establishment GOP. That's the issue. Which
right.
The bulk of them are rhinos for squishes.
Right. So my thing is now, do we support these Freedom Caucus Republicans, or do they break out and make themselves a third party, and then we identify the enemy?
Nah, you never want a third party because the Democrats will just win forever.
Right.
It'll be a Ross Perot situation in 92. You got to just fight for what you got. And see, the issue was McCarthy miscalculated. He spent all this money and they thought there was going to be a red wave that didn't materialize, and he just said, well, fuck those 20 people, I don't need them. Well, surprise, you won a 2 or 3 seat majority. Well, now it turns out you need those 20 people, and he just basically, he thought he could just shut them out and turn their back on them until the red wave didn't materialize, and then he was in there with his dick in his hands, like, Michael Corleone. Don't have my brother come out of there with his dick in his hands. And that's what happened to Kevin McCarthy. So, and, this has all happened before.
But it hasn't happened in 100 years. They haven't had this many votes.
As Holmes said to Watson, nevertheless. It's happened before. It happened numerous times.
I guess.
I think the last time it happened was in the 50s. But, like, one of the ones I think was like in 1857 or 1859. It went 139 ballots.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, I'm all for it. I want them in there fighting. I want them in there arguing.
Well, democracy is supposed to be hard.
Exactly.
That was the intent of the founders, because they don't want you just coming in here like, oh, well, this is how we feel about it today, and then you just ride roughshod over everybody. It's supposed to be hard. The whole process is supposed to be hard. But, you get the Democrats in the media, but then I repeat myself, they would lead you to believe that this has never happened before. And they can get away with it for the most part because most people are guilty of believing that history began when they arrived on the planet. Because they weren't around in 1938 or whatever, like, oh, this has never happened before. It's all happened before. It's like the Jewish people say, there's nothing new under the sun.
Okay, I'll go with that. All right, switching topics. Illinois just signed legislation that enacts an extensive ban on firearms as well as high-capacity magazines in the state. The new cap law caps the high-capacity ammunition magazines and that allow handguns to fire rounds automatically and extend the ability of the courts to prevent dangerous individuals from possessing a gun through firearm restraining orders. So now,
what do they mean by automatically? Because nobody has an automatic weapon.
That's what I was wondering. Okay, because it doesn't. You have to pull the trigger every time. So now, if they're saying if you have to pull the trigger every time, if that's automatic, now
the way they're describing that is a flintlock pistol.
Correct.
Because even a revolver automatically cycles and puts the next round in battery. So the way that reads, that means you got to like fire one shot and then get your powder horn, and a paper wad and stuff it down there and then put a lead ball in there. And
so the ban goes in effect immediately and will not require those who currently own such weapons to relinquish them.
But you have to register them.
You have to.
That way they know where they can come and get them
when they make the next law.
Right.
I wouldn't register it.
No.
It's time that we got to start sticking our middle finger up the government.
Well, I can't see that passing constitutional muster, especially after the last the Bruin law that the Supreme Court passed down in New York.
Yeah, but look what the same thing with fuckface Phil Murphy from New Jersey did. Mm-hmm. He just made it where everywhere is a gun-free zone.
But that was just thrown out.
Oh, he did? I didn't see that.
Well, two or 3 days ago, the judge in the Second Circuit Court, I think that's what New Jersey's part of, they put a stay on that. Said, yeah, you're not enforcing that. So it's going to go to the Supreme Court, pending another state's case goes in and like overrides that. Most of that egregious laws that they put in, that fuckface Phil put in and signed, he don't care. He wants to run for president.
God.
So what he wants to do is, and he knew that was going to get thrown out, but what it does, it gives him a chance to like thump his chest and say, well, I tried, but the courts tied my hands. I'm really a good guy. But if you wanted to Google that, it just happened, I think, on January 9th. Because that's something I'm up on, the concealed carry laws and everything. So
yeah. So now the sheriffs in Illinois said, you know what, we're not going to enforce
that's going to
this.
go to court.
Yeah, we're not going to enforce
and it's
this.
going to cost the taxpayers money because now the state has to defend their law that they foolishly passed, and the taxpayers pay for that as always.
So I want to see what happens to the sheriffs, because they just openly said, yeah, we're not enforcing this law. We're not enforcing this law at all. Why can't you just go why can't you go to the next state over, buy an assault weapon, and then bring it in? Are you allowed?
Well, you can't do that. Yeah, when they say you can't have a weapon, it doesn't mean, well, since you bought it in Ohio, sure. It doesn't work that way.
All right.
It's sort of like the same thing. Like some states, you're allowed to have higher alcohol contents of beer. Like the southern states, historically, they had lower alcoholic contents. So if you went to another state, I don't know if it's still that way. I'm just telling you how it used to be. So if you bought Budweiser up here where we live, it would be like 4.5%. But down south, it would be 2%. And anything higher than that, you weren't allowed to have.
Yeah, because those rednecks down there, you get them all drunked up.
Well, if you went out of state and you bought it and you brought it into the state, now you're a bootlegger. So
even if it was for your own consumption,
right? Well, they would let you have an X amount.
That's what used to get me crazy about moonshine. Moonshine, you can't make moonshine. Well, okay, I can see why you can't make it and sell it, but why can't you just make it for yourself? It's like, guess what? You can't make.
It's all about taxation.
Is that what it is?
It's always about taxation because if you make it yourself, you're not paying the state the alcohol tax.
Well, I mean, it's like no more meatloaf. What? Yeah, you can't make meatloaf. Well, why? It's just, basically moonshine is just corn or barley and some sugar.
Whatever the mash is.
Yeah, whatever the mash is. And then you just do whatever the voodoo they do with those stills. Yeah. And the next thing you got moonshine.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. I was like, well, I know a lot of states, they did back off on a lot over the past few decades where you can actually brew your own beer. You can make your own wine. I think they do have something where you could do some distilling. Mm-hmm. But I think when you buy the equipment, you pay a tax on it there that goes to the state. So they do get their pound of flesh.
Yeah.
That's what the ATF is all for.
That's
mostly
true.
for taxing alcohol and tobacco.
Yeah. Have you seen the video of the gentleman who was robbing a restaurant
with the toy gun?
With the toy gun.
Yeah.
Have you seen that video?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is what I want to get into.
Did you listen to Doug and Anthony yet?
I did listen to Doug and Anthony, and I turned it. Okay.
That was hysterical.
Here's what happened. They started talking about this, and I immediately turned it off because I had it on the board. Mm-hmm. And I did not want to listen to their take before we talked about it. So I don't know what they said. But once we get done here, I'm going to go back. But the thing is, I looked at the title of the episode, which was, what was the title of the episode?
It's a play on a vigilante.
Yeah, it was
Anthony.
Vigil Anthony.
Yeah.
Vigil
Anthony.
All right. So because of the way we have this set up and you're here, you can't see the video.
I've seen the video.
Oh, you've seen the video.
I've seen, yeah. Once again, I've got when it comes to firearms, I'm all over that like white on rice.
Okay. So what I want to do is I want to play this from when this guy starts shooting. And then I want to talk to you about how many times he shot this guy. And, was this necessary? And what should be done about this?
Nothing.
Okay. Well,
because I've seen the video, so I know how many shots there were. I know the whole story. Do you know? I'm assuming you do.
I know the whole story. I've been through this thing. All right. So here we go. The guy's picking up money. He starts walking. There's a gentleman. You can see him. He gets his gun out and he holds it to his side. As soon as this guy walks past him. All right. So he picks up the money. He's holding his gun up. He walks by. All right, that's 6. That's 6 shots.
I think it was 8 right there.
Was there 8?
I counted 4, then a space, and 3 more. So that's 7.
Hang on, we'll go back. Here we go. Yeah, right here we go. That was 8. That was 8 shots.
Yeah, you cut it off before the 8th.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 4, then 4,
right,
and then 9.
4, he hits the floor. Mm-hmm. He shoots him 4 more times while he's on the floor. And then he picks the guy's gun up and shoots him in the back of the head. Mm-hmm. Now, he's got the gun, and he looks and he realizes that this is a fake gun. Mm-hmm. And this guy skedaddles out of there. All right.
Well, he gave everyone their money back.
He gave everyone their monies back.
He's like Robin Hood.
Yeah, right.
He's like
okay. I don't have a problem with him shooting the guy in the back.
Mhm.
I don't have a problem the first 4 shots. But once he went to the ground, those other shots I have a problem with. He didn't need to shoot him that many times. Now, what do we do about this?
Nothing.
You say nothing.
A, he didn't know it was a plastic gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. But was the 3
The ninth shot is where they're going to, because when he has the gun, all right, then there was no need for the 9th shot.
right?
See, this guy, he engaged in FAFO.
Fuck around and find out.
Exactly. And whenever you engage in FAFO and you come out the loser on that, it's like, well, he fucked around and he found out. Don't fuck around and find out. Don't
I'm
walk
with you.
into a restaurant. Not only that, in New Jersey, because I was a victim of an armed robbery. If you have a toy gun and you walk in with anywhere and conduct an armed robbery with that, they still count that as having a gun, because in the eyes of the law, if you had access to a gun, you would have taken that in there.
Well, forget about that. They don't know that it's a fake gun.
Mm-hmm.
And if you walked in with a toy gun, shame on you,
Yeah.
because somebody with a real gun might confront you.
Well, that's it. And all toy guns since like the 90s, they have that orange tip on it.
Yes.
So this guy either painted it black or he broke it off or he taped over it with duct, because that's happened in numerous cases where they go in with toy guns because, well, I really don't want to hurt anybody, but I'm going to take this gun in because how else am I going to commit a crime? Because if you just walk in and like say someone, give me your money, you're going to run into someone that's bigger than you and they're going to say no, and they're going to pound you.
Right.
So that's their intent. The 9th shot is where they're going to get this guy hung up.
Like I said, I
Because
think
when you're in a situation like that and you're shooting, you have no concept of time. Everything just, it seems like you're on a record.
I guess.
It's just spinning and you're just like, oh.
So here's my problem. First of all, I don't have a problem with the guy carrying the gun. I don't have a problem with the guy shooting him in the back as he walked by, because you don't know if this guy's going to turn around and just start shooting. You have no idea. You get the drop on him. You eliminate the threat. I'm fine with all of that and encourage it and applaud it. When he fell on the ground and wasn't moving. I mean, if the guy's still squiggling and moving, by all means, keep shooting.
Well, I think the first 2 in the second set of 4, the guy was descending to the ground, so he wasn't like really neutralized.
Yeah, I don't know. The second 4, he was on the ground.
It's like, but
Okay.
well, what did the shooter perceive? Because I shoot a lot. I've run drills, and you got X amount of time to do drills.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing drills on non-life-threatening situations, but you're doing these drills, and you have X amount of time to do this stuff. The time just blows right by you. But like a course of fire will be like, okay, you need to fire 2 shots, drop your magazine, step to the right, reload a new magazine, fire 2 more shots. And you got to get those shots on paper. And you've got to do that in 5 seconds. And when you're doing that, it seems like it's putting a record player on 78. The time is just like run it. But then when you watch video of what you did afterwards, oh man, I had plenty of time. I could have taken an extra step or what,
Yeah.
So when you're and that's me running drills without someone shooting back at me or I'm in danger or whatever. It's just me just running a drill. So the time, cops like run into that all the time. When you see those videos and they drag them into court and there's protests and whatever, and then they see the cops' video, the camera that the cops wearing, and you see how fast shit goes down, and to me, it's amazing that these cops recognize it and they neutralize the threat.
I agree with you. Okay, so I just want to get back. So my biggest thing right now.
The 9th shot is what's going to hang this guy up if they ever find him.
Right. My biggest problem right now is I do not have a problem with open or concealed carry. It's your constitutional right. It's a Second Amendment right. You should be able to do it. But you should have to train with it like you should have to be able to train
Why?
and go to classes so when you're in a situation, you're used to it. It's more muscle memory.
No, well, Anthony made a very good point on this, which I know you didn't listen to.
I find this hard to believe just
No.
for the fact that Anthony made a good point.
Well, I know you hate him, but
I love Anthony, but go ahead. I'm sorry. No,
Anthony made a valid point is because then what happens is when you agree to that Now they can pass any law in the world that says, well, you know what? You really weren't acclimated to this. You weren't really trained properly, so no, you can't have a gun. And that's the problem that you fall into. Don't you hate when Anthony's right?
I do hate when Anthony's right. Okay, so here's the thing.
Sometimes you got to be a big picture kitty.
All right, okay, fine. I'm a big picture kitty. But here's the thing. You can't just give somebody a gun and turn them loose.
Why not?
Because it's too much responsibility. It's too dangerous.
No, it's not.
Wait a minute. I'm a hunter. I haven't been through the training. I don't shoot. I can't remember the last time I shot a gun. I can't. But if I had, if I was in here, and again, I don't know this. I'm thinking as I am sitting here right now, and I'm not under threat.
That's where you're wrong. Surprise!
Yeah.
Bye.
Where's my gun thing? Where is it? Hang on. Surprise!
Fuck around and find out.
All right. So I just think that there's almost like military training. It should be almost like military training.
Why? So you're so cute when you're trying. You're so close, but you're just not.
Because there has to be.
Back the truck up for a second.
Wait a minute. Let me finish my thought, and then we can back the truck up. Because there has to be. You're going to use this to eliminate the threat. Once the threat is eliminated, it is no longer needed to engage the target, because once you engage the target like that, now it takes on a vigilante type of smear, I guess. I don't know what the word I'm looking for.
Angle.
Yeah. Like, it's like, fuck this guy. Like, I don't want to, I'm doing this to protect myself. Okay, now I'm protected.
You're drifting into another area now.
I dropped this guy and I'm no longer under threat. But now I am now going to kill this guy because I was under threat. And that's not his job.
So that's where you're drifting into another area. That's why I said, where I said back the truck up, you hadn't drifted off. Okay.
All right. So
why do we have the first 10 amendments? They're not really the first 10 amendments listed in the Bill of Rights. Do you know why they're there?
Yes, because they're...
Well, let me give you a brief history lesson here. In 1787, they wrote the Constitution and they passed it. But there were some holdouts, because George Mason was one of them. He says, I will not sign that because there is not a Bill of Rights attached to that. And then Madison had to go back and he writes the original 10 amendments, which were called the Bill of Rights. They're not the Bill of Suggestions. They're not the Bill of Good Ideas. It's a Bill of Rights. So why are they the Bill of Rights?
Because they're your rights. No one can take them away from you. So in other words, you have a right to carry a gun.
You have a right to self-defense.
Self-defense.
You have a right to free speech.
You have a right to free speech.
Why they're the Bill of Rights is because they predate government.
And government
they're bestowed upon you by God or your creator. The government cannot take rights that are inherently yours away from you. So if you're saying that in order for someone to be able to have a gun, they're not allowed to have one unless they did military training or they had some kind of police training, how does that square up with the intent of the Bill of Rights?
It doesn't.
So that's why you cannot have what you had before you veered off into the once the threat is neutralized. That's a whole nother topic.
Okay.
Which you're right, and I agree with you. But you can't just come out and start saying, and that's what communists and liberals, but then I repeat myself, that's what they always want to do, because everything is them is having more power. They don't, and this is what Clarence Thomas came up with the Bruin decision at the last case where we got concealed carry in New York and New Jersey and all these other holdout states, is because no other state or no other amendment in the Bill of Rights is enforced that way. They don't do it with the First Amendment with your free speech. They don't do it with your First Amendment for your religious clause. They don't do it in your Fourth Amendment rights for illegal search and seizure. So why is this amendment the one that they always pick on? It's either a full-blown right or it's not a full-blown right. You can't split the baby on this one.
All right, so
you got to be all in or all out.
I'm going to split the baby on this one, and this is why. Because once I take a gun out and I shoot somebody that is threatening me, once I protect myself, and once that threat is eliminated, now I am infringing on that other person's rights.
No, because that's not you don't have a right to rob people. You're saying
right. No, you're right. You don't have a right to but once I'm being robbed, once I protect myself and the threat is eliminated.
That's where you stop. You're done.
Okay. But
so
I'm not
how did
done.
you infringe on his rights?
Well, I kept shooting him.
Well, you didn't say that. You just said once I eliminated it.
Because you won't let me go past that line. You're like, okay, you stop right there. You can't do anything else. You can't say to him.
You've eliminated the threat. That's when you stop shooting.
But he didn't.
Well, you just said once you were using you as a first person.
Well, okay. Once a person eliminates the threat and they continue to shoot.
That's where you run into an issue.
That's where I run into the issue.
Okay.
Right.
And that's if it's a cut and dry issue. How do you know the guy doesn't have an accomplice? How do you know he doesn't have another gun?
God damn. Good thing he didn't have an accomplice because the guy shot he was out of ammo. He shot the dead guy.
Might have had 12 rounds.
Maybe.
Might have had 15.
Right.
Could have been a Glock 23 at 17 rounds.
I just think.
Guns are great.
I'm with you.
If
I'm with you with everything.
Fun, it must be so.
All right. I'm with you. My problem is that it's a big responsibility to carry a firearm. It's
it
huge.
Is.
I'll go back to when I started hunting. You were responsible when you pulled that trigger where that shot went to the target and beyond.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, I was hunting with my cousins. We were up in Pennsylvania. We were deer hunting. And I had hunted up there for years. And they started building houses all around there. And we were on this pipeline that we used to always hunt. And all of a sudden, I heard, someone yell, buck. And I looked, and here comes a buck down the line. It was a nice one. It was like a 6 or 8 pointer. And he's running. I take my scope, and I put it on his shoulder. And as I'm putting it on his shoulder, in my scope, in the background of my scope, I see play set, swing set, house, window. I'm like, I can't shoot because I can't. If I miss, I have no idea where this thing's going to go.
Right. Where's that round going to land?
Where that's round going to land. But I've been trained. I was trained, and not only trained by when I took my test, but hunting with my family. They beat gun safety into your head about how you have to be careful about where you shoot because you're responsible. That's where I get into this thing where you're responsible. Yes, okay, you eliminated the threat. Why the next 5 shots?
Right. That's what I said. That's who's going to run into the problem.
Yeah, that's the biggest, we were talking when I was hunting with motherfucking Ray, and we used to walk through a field and jump rabbits. Mm-hmm. And a rabbit would jump and he would run in front. So everybody couldn't shoot because he was there. He would take the lane. And then the one time he went running and I just took and went to the side and shot like 3 times. He's like, you're shooting. Yeah, because you ran in front. Don't do that.
Little light peppering.
No, I didn't like I moved it I didn't shoot at him. I shot to the right.
I was there.
So he wasn't there. Yeah, and he's like, I'm like, yeah, don't run out in front.
Fuck around and find out.
Don't put your hand out for me not to shoot. Mm-hmm. You're known as 9.5 when I take one of your digits off.
Yeah, but that's why you don't. Now, a lot of states are mandating gun safety courses,
right?
And they urge you to practice.
Yes,
but they can't force you to practice.
Okay, circled all the way back. You're right. You can't make. I agree with Anthony. Got stuck in my
Doesn't
throat.
That feel good?
Got stuck in my throat. I agree with Anthony. You can't mandate it, but as a responsible gun owner,
it behooves you to be that way.
Correct. Okay. Yes. Because you can't. You just can't keep shooting the guy until you're out of ammunition. Yeah. It's just not. I mean, it just doesn't look good.
Yeah, but sometimes you do empty the gun on these people. Like guys are all hopped up on fentanyl and crack, and you see news. What was that? They were calling them bath salts.
Yes.
Whatever was in that, it must have been fentanyl, I guess. Whatever was in that shit. I mean, there's countless videos of these guys getting hit 8, 9, 10, 11, and they keep coming.
That's a different story. If that guy turned around and was still coming, and he was still shooting him, no problem. It's when he fell face down.
Right.
And he's just sitting there lifeless, and the guy's still shooting into him.
But was he truly lifeless? Was his finger quivering? I mean, he might have had another gun.
Maybe. You think he had 2 toy guns? You think they came in a pack from the drugstore?
Remember Bernie Getz?
Yeah.
Back in the day? Because he did that. He says, oh, you want one more? And he got off.
He did. I hear you. Jesus.
Hey, think about something. Bernard Getz, that was 40 years ago. Coming up on 40 years. That happened in the 80s.
It did.
Yeah. I think that was like around 86, 87.
Didn't he go to jail?
He didn't go to jail. I think he got like 1 million years probation, and he had to wind up leaving the state, obviously. He was looking for land in Tioga County back after that happened. He had to go somewhere to get away from it all.
Huh. I'm looking for something right now. Do I have it in here? Or did I get rid of it? Fuck.
I noticed you got a water fountain over there. You going to put in a wet bar when you finish this basement? That would be awesome.
I'm going to turn on the air. Since we're going to start doing. Here's the problem.
Mix up old fashions.
If we had
get all fucked up.
What do you want? What do we need for old fashions?
I'll bring what's needed for old fashions.
Okay.
I'll bring would you drink an old fashioned?
I've never had one before.
You never had an old fashioned? Oh, they're awesome.
No, I'll have to try one.
Yeah, they're great.
All right. So
do you like bourbon or rye? Because it does make a difference. Bourbon is smoother. You're kind of a pussy, so we'll probably have to make it with bourbon.
Fine. I'm a pussy.
Your Applejack Daniels.
I got to get new. So I'm going to take and turn on the refrigerator so we can put beer in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we could set up a bar. Why not?
Yeah, I'll furnish the bar. You got the refrigerator. I'll do the rest.
That's fine.
Is that freezer on the top of that work?
Yep.
Because we'll need ice.
We'll need ice. Okay, fine. We'll get ice.
Get all jacked up.
Hey, listen. If that'll get you here more than once a month.
No, that won't happen. No.
I got to run the refrigerator the whole month for just one show.
No, like you're not going to be down here when I'm not here.
All right.
We're going to hermetically sealed it up. Can't go back down there for 4 weeks.
Yes.
Just throw the breaker.
All right. So, as you know, I'm sure you've heard, there's a big homeless situation out in San Francisco.
Yeah. Like that dude did with the garden hose.
You saw that, right?
That's great.
So, okay. I don't want to bring this. All right. So, here's the deal. He goes out. And there's a gallery. Guy's got a gallery, an art gallery.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of homeless people sleeping out in front of the gallery. And I guess it's, impeding people or making people not want to go to his gallery.
That's exactly it.
Right. So he takes a garden hose and he's nonchalantly leaning up against the railing with like his foot over his other foot, just sitting there. And he's just hosing this poor homeless woman down.
See, I wanted him to go further, like in the Shawshank Redemption. As soon as he was done that, he throws the white powder on her, and delouses her. You know that scene when William Dufresne, they're processing him in, they hose him down, and they hit him with the white powder.
So my thing is, what do you do? There's so much money spent on homeless.
Obviously not in San Francisco.
Well, I understand that, but we did a story on the Rubberneckers last week where it's so easy to be homeless in San Francisco because they just let you set up a tent. And they just let
California. Yeah,
right.
I'm so glad we went when we did because it was before all that bullshit happened. San Francisco was a beautiful city. We had a blast there. And
now
we were in Golden Gate Park and we saw a few tents there. I mean, there were so few tents that Diane and I assumed that there must have been like a concert was there the night before or was coming, and they were just camping out to get good spots. Like there might have been like 30 tents. That was it. This was in October of 2017.
Right.
1 year later, the city was overrun with shit and homeless people. I mean, that's how fast it turned.
I don't think it's California homeless. I think homeless people were.
Well, if you're going to be homeless anywhere, it's warmer in California than it is in New York City or Philadelphia. So
correct.
That's where you can get by in a tent. And it don't rain much in California, so you don't have to worry about that.
Again, you got half the people going, that's right, hose her down and get her away from your storefront.
Right.
And then you got the other people, this is horrible.
Yeah.
We're going to boycott your gallery. Well, where was it?
Yeah.
Oh, how many galleries have you been to?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, see, every time this issue comes up, especially the way it has in the last few years, Do you remember the what the hell did they call it? The Occupy Wall Street movement.
Yes.
Okay. The Occupy Wall Street was started because Mitt Romney was the presidential nominee in 2012. And Mitt Romney was a millionaire because only Democrats are allowed to be millionaires in Congress or, but not Republicans. No one else. Bernie Sanders can be a millionaire, but nobody else can be. So.
Well, I wrote a book.
Yeah. Yeah. He stopped saying the millionaires and the billionaires when he became a millionaire. Now it's just the billionaires. Yeah. So anyway, that's how that all started. And in Philadelphia, that was going on. And basically these people were precursors of Antifa. Yeah. And they would just set up and they would just block the entrances into buildings and to neighborhoods. Now, you own a business. This is your livelihood. The city is refusing to do anything to keep these people from keeping patrons to come into your store.
Right.
But they expect you to pay your taxes. They expect you to pay for your city services. It's incompatible. You can't have that. Also, every civilization up until this half-ass one that we're engaged in now in this country used to realize that it's a public nuisance for that issue. I mean, they spread disease.
Vagrancy.
You can have, the road to hell is paved for good intentions. And you can have all these good intentions, but you're not doing these people a favor by enabling this. And it's creating, this guy's probably, God knows how many phone calls this guy's probably been making to the city. Hey, you got to move these people. You got to move. And they're not doing it. So what are you supposed to do?
Right. He didn't kill him.
Yeah, he didn't walk in there, shoot him 9 times, take the plastic gun off of him and shoot him again.
Right. Throw a plastic gun, shoot him 9 times and throw a plastic gun there.
Plastic throwdown. I mean, it's like these cities have to do something about it, and they're not. And the country's making it worse by just enabling all the illegal aliens from the hemorrhage, because where are they going?
Well, that's the same exact thing that they just did with Biden. Biden's going to go visit the border. So what they do? They went in there.
Cleaned it all up.
They went in and cleaned all the homeless off there. And he goes, I don't see a problem.
Yes, that looks good to me.
Look at this. Look good to me.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
A living cadaver. The cadaver in chief.
He's going to run in 2024.
He's going to be dead by then.
Jesus. Or he's
not
functioning. All right. So here's one. Here's another kerfuffle I want your advice on.
Advice or opinion?
Both. Either. I don't care. UK actor Honeysuckle Weeks tells court she drove drunk to avoid being forced into a threesome. British actor Honeysuckle Weeks confessed in a UK court Tuesday to drunk driving. She said she only did it to avoid being forced into having a threesome. The star was more than twice the legal driving limit when she was pulled over around 7:20 p.m. Weeks was invited to stay at a friend's house for the night, but after fearing she would be coerced into having sex, she opted to drive off. An off-duty cop watched the actor back her Honda into a parked car and then leave, but then return almost immediately. The vehicle was stopped. The police officer realized the driver was drunk. She was taken to the police station for a breathalyzer test where she was more than double the legal driving limit. She's 43 years old.
And I've never heard of her.
Never heard of her. She was under the influence, but she said she only did it because she felt the man and his lover were going to pressure her into a menage a trois, and she wanted no part of it. So here's the thing. Does she get off for drunk driving because she was trying to escape?
Yeah. First of all, I think it's bullshit. Second of all, she went there intending it, but she didn't get drunk enough to engage in it. If that's it, she's probably been in a million of them. Who knows? You know how these stars are. You hear about it all the time. Now, seriously, it's probably just bullshit. She probably just made it up, thinking that she was going to get sympathy because now you're just, I was going to be a victim.
So you mean to tell me that someone would lie under oath?
Oh, all the time, especially in Hollywood or celebrity circles, whatever country you're in.
Yeah, she gets.
How long ago did this drunk driving incident happen?
It was in November.
Okay, and she's just now getting around to reporting this. Because if it was true, she would have said it right then and there when she got pulled over.
Again, it doesn't say in the story. Maybe she did. Maybe she told him then. That's true, too.
It's a little questionable.
That's true, too. Okay.
I think it's bullshit.
All right. Over there in England, you get 20 months. You know how we get 6 months here? You get 20 months there. If you get caught drunk driving,
well,
you can't
that's
drive.
for your second offense, 6 months. When you get your third offense, you do a year in New Jersey.
Wait a minute. First offense for drunk driving, 6 months. You lose your license.
You lose your no, I thought you meant jail time.
No. 6 months, lose your license.
No, New Jersey, second offense, you lose your license and you do 6 months jail time. You can.
I thought that was your third. Mm-mm. I have it's funny. This isn't funny. I know somebody.
It's hilarious.
That got their second drunk driving. And before they got to court for their second one, they got their third. Mm-hmm. And they lost their license for
decades.
Yeah.
I know a guy that did that. I used to work with a guy when I sold cars. He had one DUI, lost his license for 6 months, got it back. This guy was just a stone cold alcoholic. Mm-hmm. Got into a second DUI, and that didn't even go. I mean, the ink wasn't dry on that ticket. And 3 days later, he drove off the road with a girl in the car and screwed. And they were both way drunk. That was his third DUI. So he got 2 DUIs in a week.
Yeah.
So at the time when I was selling cars back in 03, 04, his daughter was like 4 or 5 years old. And there's, what car are you going to buy your daughter when she's driving? I don't know. Not that it matters because, she's going to be driving years before I get my license back. He lost his license for 20 years.
Jesus.
So she was driving at 17, and he was looking on from the sidelines. Hey, can you take me to...
Yeah, can you take me
to the supermarket? Fuck around and find out.
We told the story. Jody from Rubberneckers, he got booted from Twitter, permanently banned, because he called Carl from Who Are These Podcasts a homo. He says, Carl...
You're not allowed to do that now?
Can't use the word homo, so they permanently banned him. So
he's talking about milk. He's homogenized.
So he said... Hey, listen, I understand that's bad. I meant to say host, not homo, but it auto-corrected. I didn't see it. I apologize. And they believed that bullshit. They gave him his account back. And I was like, fuck.
I believe that because whenever I'm texting somebody, the predictive text comes in. And whenever I'm talking, I want to spell a word that starts with SH. It automatically predicts shit. So I guess that says something about me and my vocabulary. And if it doesn't autocorrect this shit, it autocorrects to or predictive text to shit show. So I use the word shit show
a lot,
an awful lot, because it's usually in the center box. Like shit show just pops up.
I guess that people will lie under oath. All right, you know something? When we started this podcast back in 2016. I really believe it was the golden age of podcasting for independents. And the reason I say that, there's a lot of great podcasts that I used to listen to that aren't there anymore. I miss them. Remember, it was Toe on the Trigger. Mm-hmm. There was Bold and Belligerent. And then there was Bad Cop, Bad Cop. And Bad Cop, Bad Cop was by far my favorite podcast to listen to. Jerry and Dave. Well, Jerry decided to get into politics, and he also has a company now that he
does sports.
Yeah, he announces high school sports, and he's doing a great job with it. But here's the thing about Jerry, and I knew this from the very start. I never wanted to be Jerry's enemy. Like, in other words, I never wanted to do anything to get on Jerry's bad side.
I kind of admire a guy that adopts a scorched earth policy myself.
I do. I do.
It's funny because when I walked in here today, I said, I got to bring this up, what Jerry's going through. And then you were like on the same page with me. Oh, did you? I said, great.
All right. So why don't you tell everybody what Jerry's going through, since you probably...
Apparently, Jerry covers the politics in the town that he lives in Pennsylvania. And there's a lot of hokey pokey, hanky panky going on over there.
Shenanigans.
Yes. Corrupt.
Yeah.
Basically. And Jerry and his, and I forget his name, and his host on the program that they're doing.
I can't think of his name either.
They broadcast this, and they're basically reporters. They're reporting on this to the people that live in the town. Well, the council filed a motion to block the release of his broadcast, and he's not even allowed to talk about it. And they basically sandbagged him like, they said, like, yeah, in 2 hours you got to appear before the court. And, so Jerry didn't have much time to prepare or anything. So that's what he's dealing with now. He's dealing with some thug politicians in the town that he's reporting on. And obviously it's going through court, and Jerry's got to do what he's got to do. But, it's really, really crazy. And if that's happening, this is one person that you and I just happen to know.
Correct.
Okay. And he's got a voice.
And he's got a podcast.
Well, he's got a voice. So we know about it because we know Jerry.
Correct.
But it makes you wonder how many other hundreds of people in this country are going through the same thing. With these small town thugs that they think they can just ride roughshod over you.
So the town that I live in right now is Democrat. It's a very Democratic town.
Well, this whole state is.
Okay. So the Republican Party that was in this area, there was a couple. I went to school with this one guy. He was a Republican.
Did I know him?
No. So he was going through kind of the same thing that Jerry was going through. Now, this has been years ago. So he was going through and trying to tell everybody in the township of what was going on. And he was getting death threats. His threats were against his family. And they said, hey, listen, if I was you, I wouldn't have your family eat in any restaurants in the area. And the guy's like, what the fuck am I going to do? I'm only one person. I can't fight this fight by myself. So this is what they do. They take one person out. They pick them. They separate them from the herd. And they just basically...
They serve as a warning to everyone else that might step out of line.
Right. Same thing is going on with the government. You don't think that this is what happened with Donald Trump? Here's a guy, a millionaire, who comes in, actually wins and has influence over millions and millions of people. And they've done nothing but fuck with him since he announced his presidency and through his presidency, and continues to fuck with him now.
Too bad they found those classified documents in Joe Biden's 2 houses.
2 sets.
Yeah.
Can't find out where they are because they won't even tell you where they are. Like, they don't even tell you where they found the second set.
Well, one said it was locked up with his Corvette.
Right. The other one.
Did you see the reporters laughing? Did you see it today?
No, I haven't seen it.
It pisses me off to no end that this strapper's driving around in a 67 Corvette, just that he's owned since it was new, which is a whole nother issue because he always says, we're a poor working class family. We didn't have much money. Here's the 67 Corvette my daddy bought me when I graduated from the Naval Academy in 1967. Well, in 1967, a Corvette was like a year's salary, just like it is now.
Yeah.
I thought your family had no fucking money, Joe. Which is it? But anyway,
that's no joke.
It was in a announcement today, news conference, and he says it was locked up with my Corvette, which is in a locked garage. And one of the reporters is a woman. I don't know her name. You can see she's standing there like, I can't believe this.
Well, again,
it was on Fox, so I was like,
Well, but here's my problem. Every president since Clinton or Reagan has had this issue with which documents they can take and which ones they can't.
Oh, it even predates them.
Okay. So what did they do? They did whatever they did and nobody knew about it. All of a sudden, this thing with Trump, they take, and not only did they, he's talking to him, working with him or whatever. They send the fucking FBI down there to raid his fucking house.
Kick his door in. And now this is going on by no FBI, no nothing. It is so obvious. Well, not only that, the big difference also is Donald Trump was president.
And he could declassify.
He could have them, and he has the power to determine what can be declassified. These papers were from when Joe was vice president, who has no power whatsoever to do that, and he has classified documents.
Right, and they were ones taken from what they call it, the SCIF, which is basically a place where you go in. You can't take any kind of electronics in with you. You can't take a phone or Fitbit or anything where people could hack into it. You go in, you get briefed in there, and then you leave. You got to leave the document. So how did those documents get out of there? And what was that guy's name? Berger. The one time he was stuffing documents down his pants.
Oh, that was Clinton's Sandy Berger.
Sandy Berger
went in and stole the 9/11 documents that implicated Clinton in wrongdoing and walked off with them, and they're lost forever.
Yeah. What happened to him? Did he go to jail?
No.
Come on, cut me a break here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Are we going to ever stop talking about politics? Or...
well, what else are we going to talk about?
Well, how was your Christmas?
No,
how was your New Year's?
No. Oh, no.
Did you make Christmas as miserable as you usually do?
Absolutely, I did.
This is a you problem.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. Couldn't wait for Christmas to be over. Could not wait.
Did somebody get coal in their stocking?
No, I hate Christmas. I hate the whole thing. It's ridiculous. It's too much pressure. Too much angst and too much pressure.
Pressure?
I hate Yeah.
What kind of pressure are you under?
I'm none. You know why? I don't participate. I don't participate in this nonsense running around.
You're 67 years old at this point. What kind of pressure could you have?
Listen, this is what I do. I give money to the ex-wife and say, go buy them, whatever, and put my name on the
There you go.
package.
Pressure free.
Yeah, that's why. I just don't want to, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want a tree. My daughter
get one.
My daughter says, I got extra lights and all. I'm going to come over and decorate your house. I said,
That was nice.
Yeah, nice. It was wonderful. Don't bother. I don't want to. I don't want it. I don't want to have a tree.
Bah, humbug.
Yes. I hate Christmas. I've hated Christmas for years and years and years. Decades.
Well, mine was great, thanks.
I'm glad.
Me.
No, I'm glad. Listen, I'm not saying that everybody that likes Christmas shouldn't have Christmas. I think it's fantastic. If you enjoy Christmas and you enjoy doing all that stuff, then by all means, enjoy Christmas. I do not. That's all I'm saying.
So how was your New Year's?
What did I do? New Year's was great. Let me tell you what I did New Year's.
See that?
New Year's, what I did
There's a silver lining.
was I used my Oculus, I signed on, and I played poker until like 3 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And I had a great time. I don't know if I told you this or not. I don't think I told anybody. Well, I told. So when you go in there and you put this Oculus on, you go into, it's basically a casino. Mm-hmm. And now they have craps, and they have blackjack, and they have roulette, and they have poker, and slot machines.
No baccarat?
No baccarat, not yet. So they started this new machine. It's called Rocket Rush. I think
you told me about that the last podcast.
Well, how much did I lose the last time?
You drove your money down from 98 million to 73 million?
Yeah. Okay, let me tell you the story. So I decided I got a plan. I got a scheme.
Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Exactly.
Is that what happened? You got punched in the face.
I start playing Rocket Rush. Here's my thing. The thing is that you can bet all I wanted to do was bet like 35 million a spin and only go up to 2. So every time I was double my money, 35 million. And once it got to 2, get out. It was great. I went from 72 million up to 212 million. This is amazing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to 300 million and I'll be done with it. Mm-hmm. And then I hit a string of where it went.
Yeah, let me know how that's going to say.
By the time I got done, I had 12 million left.
See, they know. It's like horse racing. It's all fixed.
I lost 200 million in about an hour. 200 million in chips. Dude, I was sick to my stomach. I'm telling you, I felt like I lost real money.
Might as well have been.
It was horrible.
We were talking about, I just mentioned horse racing. Like, we all know that horse racing is fixed, but some people don't believe that.
Is it fixed?
Oh, except for the big three, Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, and the Delmont or Fremont, whatever.
I didn't know it was fixed.
Oh, yeah. Well, think about it. Are you going to trust a pissed off midget whipping the shit out of a drugged up horse? I mean, come on. Think about it. It's like,
I know people that have owned racehorses, and I don't think that they were.
Oh, it's all fixed. It's like, well, the reason I always had heard it was fixed, but once I was naive like you were, so I had no idea, Well, back when I worked for Laurel Tobacco, my sales territory, a large part of it consisted of Cherry Hill, which back in the day we had the Garden State Racetrack.
That's correct.
Directly across the street, there was a news agency there called Cherry Hill News. And because they were right across the street, they sold a shit ton of like racing forums and the Racing Weekly and all the stuff that was going in there, because the crowd would like go there, buy their stuff, and then go to the grandstand, and then they would place their wagers. So I'm in the store servicing it. And if you remember back in the day, the cigarette companies would have self-service displays on the countertops.
Yes.
And we used to pay the stores to have them there. It was a merchandising agreement. So this midget comes walking in. Clearly he's a horse jockey. I mean,
Okay.
he must. I'm not kidding. If this guy was like 4'7", he was a giant. I mean, this guy was really short. So he comes walking in and he says, "Hey, buddy, can you help me out? Can you give me a pack of cool cigarettes up there?" Well, they were our competitor. And I says, I'll tell you what, if you buy a pack of Newport, I'll buy you a pack of Newport. It'll be a buy one, get one free today. Oh, really? I says, yeah, sure, I'll do that. I grabbed 2 packs of Newport, opened them both up. And the way it worked was he paid for the one and I gave the retailer a coupon for the free pack. It covered the cost. That's how it was done. It was called a consumer conversion back then.
Okay.
So this guy's all grateful. Oh, well, I really appreciate this. Hey, come here. Let me tell you something. And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he says, Botnay Bay in the third. I'm just making this up. He says, Botnay Bay in the third. And I'm like, Botnay Bay in the third? What the fuck does that even mean? And I'm like, so he walks out. So the store owner says, what did he say? He said, Botnay Bay in the third. So he gets on the phone and he's calling up a bookie and he's placing a bet. And I was like, what? Well, he's telling you that the horse that's going to win in the third. So that's what's going on. So I called up my boss, Mark. He was the assistant division manager. I said, hey, I don't know if this is legit or not, but I just had some midget tell me Botnay Bay in the third. And he goes, really? He says, I'm going to place a bet. No, I don't gamble in that. I'm like, stupid asshole me. I should have said, yeah, put me in, because he put in $100 and he won almost $1,200. So don't tell me fucking horse racing is not fucking fixed, But stupid me. Oh no, I'm not going to gamble. It's all fixed.
I think that's the title of this episode, Botnay Bay in the third.
It was, and that's when I got an education at 21. That's when I found out that, yes, everything you heard about horse racing is true. It's all fucking fixed.
I remember a friend of mine, Mark, Mark, his sister bought racehorses, thoroughbreds, and she had this one, and it was racing that night. And I was working with Mark and his father. So they were going, we're going to the races tonight. Can you go? And I said, no, I can't go. He says, you want us to put a bet down? I said, yeah. I opened up my wallet. I said, yeah, put $20 to win. He goes, what about placing share? I said, nah, $20 to win. I didn't think, here's $20. So the next day, I come in, I'm working, I'm doing something. He walks up to me, he goes, I got something for you. I go, okay. He puts $240 on my desk. Nice. I go, what's that for? He goes, the horse won last night. Here's your $20. Here's your money. I said, you shitting me? He goes, no. I said, well, here, let me give you some money for, I'll give you half. He goes, no. I said, yeah, you put the money in, I give you half of it. He goes, no, I don't want your money. I said, okay. But yeah, I don't think they thought it was fixed.
Nah, well, it's fixed. But the thing is you don't know where the fix is in at.
Okay.
I had a fucking pipeline with a dwarf that I gave a fucking pack of cigarettes to, and I didn't take advantage of it.
Cash in.
Yeah. I should have known something was up when the owner immediately picked up his phone and was dialing his bookie.
What?
God knows how much fucking money that guy made.
Botnay Bay in the third. Listen, I got a hot tip. Put a nickel on Botnay Bay in the third. Nickel? Whatever.
Yeah, so who knew? That's what I found out.
Yeah.
But there's so much, from what I understand, there's so much oversight on the Kentucky Derby and the Preakness and Saratoga that those might be the only 3 legitimate horse races.
It's funny now that betting, gambling on the NFL is, before it was always something that people.
Yeah,
it was.
Well, it bounced Pete Rose out of Major League Baseball because he was betting on his team to win.
Yes.
How do you throw the game on that? If he was betting for his team to lose, he could put his horse pitcher in. He could start benching guys, but he was betting on his team to win. How do you fix that?
Right. But what I'm saying right now is what happens if the NFL, because there's millions and millions of dollars to be made in betting.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you see these referees like making these fucked up calls.
Oh, I think they have fantasy football leagues. That's why. I sincerely believe that's why these fucked up calls are going in. I think that's why you see some teams that are kicking the shit out of their opponent the first half, and all of a sudden it's real close. They win by a fucking field goal. You know, it just it's like it makes me wonder.
It does. It really does. Oh, let's get back to Jerry.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, did you hear from Jerry since?
I haven't heard from him. I'm probably sure going to hear from him after this. So he has a podcast, and he only puts it on his Facebook because it's just a local podcast. They took him to court, and the judge made him take down the podcast. So I don't know what happened, but again, I guess he went back to court or he appealed the decision or whatever, and then they took and overrode the decision, and he was able to put it back up. Now, you know, Jerry, you don't think he did it on the next podcast. You don't think he went in there and gloated, do you?
I don't think Jerry would do anything like that.
Fuck, he didn't. He was in there.
Not Jerry.
Not Jerry. Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll show you how straight I am. Where is it? Fucker. It's got to be in here somewhere. I can't find it. Motherfucker. Where is it?
Hey, you drop it in post-production.
Yeah, okay, I'll find it.
You're under pressure now.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're at to fire 9 shots and neutralize the threat because your time was running away from you.
Yeah, so he's over there fucking with the township that he lives in, and I find it fascinating. Listen, I don't know if I know nothing about these people. I listen to it every week.
It's a nice town. My last job before, when I traveled 4 states as a sales representative, I had quite a lot of business in that area and in that town that he's in. So,
yeah,
I guess that's why I'm a little bit more, well, Jerry also, but that's why I'm a little bit more, really? All this shit was going on in that quiet little town?
Yeah, because they do it in every town.
Yeah. Well, my father always used to say, you hear about corruption in the big cities? He says, believe me, these small towns make the big cities look like pikers.
Yeah.
Like the nepotism is so out of control in the small, like especially the town that I live in. It's like outrageous what they do.
You know how straight I am? I'll fuck you in the ass to prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry doesn't like girls.
I miss that show. Goddamn, I miss that show.
You know how straight I am? I'll fuck you in the ass to prove it.
Anyhow. So, yeah, I guess I'll put a link to his show in the show notes if you want to go listen to it.
It's still out there, I think.
I know, but he doesn't, in other words, I don't think he wants a whole bunch of people listening to it. I think he just wants the township people to listen to it. But I'm fascinated.
You mean that show? I thought you meant...
Oh, no.
I thought you meant Bad Cop.
Bad Cop's gone.
Yeah.
It's all gone.
I was going to say, is it?
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah, it's a sin because I would go back and listen to his old episodes.
Yeah, there's one I wanted to listen to a week ago. So I would like to listen to that.
Oh, my God. It was fun. He was having a big fight with Juliet Miranda and...
Dave, the producer.
Well, he wasn't really having a fight. He was calling her the bourbon bitch, and they were making fun of her. And I knew
they
Juliet.
wound up
best of friends.
Yeah, they wound up. Jerry went away. They had not moved to Nolens yet, so Jerry, I guess, was traveling in Chicago area.
No, they went to Dallas. They were in Dallas.
That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah, Jerry, Dave, and Dave, the producer, went to Dallas. And I'm telling you, the shenanigans, the amount of alcohol that must have been consumed during that weekend was probably legendary. But,
float a battleship in dry dock.
Yeah. So, yeah, and that's when I got the moniker of the social media shit starter. Now I got to look this up.
Didn't she do a sound drop for us?
She did.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find that.
Yeah, you find that in post-production. If you go back into one of our
I can find it
past
from
episodes,
there, yeah.
you can scrape one off out of there. So.
Yeah, I thought I had.
You have to listen to like the first 101 episodes to find it.
Yeah, this was like, remember, I had this from Mindy when we were talking. This was back when Was 3 is comedy?
Well, Jason, you keep saying different words for vag. Can we just say vagina instead of vag, vajayjay, box? Neither regions, lady business, lady V, hoo-ha, cha-cha, lady bits, crotch, muff, kitty, cooch, cooter, snatch, snapper, beaver, cookie, cupcake, coin purse, lady flower, honey pot, poon, punani, twat, gash, banana basket, flower pot, china, fine china, juice box, pink panther, hot pocket, bikini biscuit, penis flytrap, vertical smile, dew flaps, flaming lips, puff pillow, and the notorious VAG, fur burger, bearded clam, sausage wallet, panty hamster, meat curtains, penis garage, pink taco, axe wound, penis snuggie, and lastly, pussy and cunt.
I've got a sound drop from Mindy that I was scouring through my computer maybe 2 months ago. And because, as you know, computers accumulate a lot of files because, I need to save this. I need to save this,
Right.
And then you don't need it anymore, but you never go back and get rid of it. So I said, I got to get rid of this stuff. And I found this sound wave and I was, what the hell is this? And I played it and it's Mindy clearly yelling at Jason, and I'll leave it at that. So I'll send it to you.
Well, that's not that. Now, what am I going to do with that?
It was like the dick sandwich one when she says, "I was like, eat a dick sandwich," and she yelled at Jason for that one. So it's something along those lines, like,
Yeah, now Jason's the one that's like, oh, I don't want to say this, and I'm a little worried about this, and
Nah, he still curses.
I understand that. Now, I understand his apprehension because he's still out in the world. He doesn't need to get canceled. He doesn't need any of this bullshit. He's doing a podcast.
Yeah,
He's
that's
doing
why I
it-
don't talk about my job.
Right.
Per se. I don't say
No,
where I
yeah.
work.
We don't even identify you by name.
I'm an eccentric millionaire.
Yes.
I just walk around.
That's all.
I just walk around, looking around. That's what I do.
Oh, God. But I miss those days. I'm trying to remember. Do I have it here? Let me see.
What was the name of Sean Fuller's podcast?
Awkwardly.
Yeah,
What was it?
Horribly Awkward.
Horribly
Yeah,
awkward.
he was funny.
Toe on the trigger. Daniel sent me a bunch of videos on Facebook Messenger. I got to pull them for the next episode because he was talking to us. I haven't heard from him in years.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent a message. I said, hey, are you podcasting anymore? What's going on? He's like, no, I'm beyond all that. I got so much shit going on. He's still with his girlfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's 4 years ago.
Yeah. Or are they married? I don't know if they're married.
That I don't know. Because they got together just around when I stopped coming.
Oh, God, Facebook is so hard to sign in anymore. It's ridiculous. I hate Facebook on the
fly.
Not on the fly, but what's it called? I hate Facebook as a web page. I like it as the app. Every time you go to sign in, you got to click this and turn around and get a number and put the code
Stand
in.
on one foot.
Stand on one
Pat
foot.
your head. Rub your tummy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right, dude. I think that's it. I think we've done it all. I think we've said it all. I don't know how we're going to do podcast shout-outs because you can't see it.
Well, you can listen to Jason and Mindy podcast.
That's one. Hang on. Let me see if I can find the fucking podcast shout-outs.
Wow. Fucking fuck.
Fucking podcast shout-outs. Sorry.
If you really don't want to do them,
It's not that I don't want to do them. I just got to find them. That's all. All right. We're going to do this, and then I'll clean it up and post. All right. So here we go. If you're looking for some great independent podcasters to check out, we highly recommend these.
The Jason and Mindy podcast with Jason and Mindy.
The Who's Right podcast with Doug and Anthony.
And Anthony was right this time, much to John's chagrin.
Yes.
The Unwritable Rant with Juliet Miranda.
I Shake My Head with Lisa and Sam.
The Rubberneckers
Okay. Now here's the thing about the Rubberneckers.
with John and 3 other dudes.
Wow. John and Jody. The other 2 dudes quit.
Wow, you are a force of nature.
Now, wait a minute. This is my fault?
I'm using my powers of supposition. I'm going to go with yes.
Now, what happened was Edward and Josh.
Why don't you just say, listen to the revolving door of the Rubberneckers with John and to be announced in the future.
And Jody. And John and Jody. So Edward and Josh.
And we're watching the clock now to see how long before Jody lasts.
Decided to go and go on Edward's podcast, I Am Canceled. So now I Am Canceled is with Edward and Josh.
So ironically, you got canceled because the other two dudes went to that podcast.
Listen, I can't help it. I'm a matchmaker. I bring people together and, they went off and made a podcast. It's fantastic. Also married as fuck with Randall and Brooke. Something? I just saw Randall's doing an interview with somebody, and he's putting it on his Facebook page. I think it's a UFC fighter or something. I really didn't catch all the details, but I don't know. Like I said, I got to get back into this to see if they're still doing the podcast or not.
So you said they had dropped one? Last podcast
I think they did. They did. And then we have Brilliant Observations with Jessica and Melissa. And that's it.
No, I shake my head.
I did say I shake my head. Yeah, okay. I did say I shake my head.
I was asleep during that part.
All righty. And then next month, we'll be drinking old fashions, and Deuce will have his computer with his soundboard, so there should be shenanigans going on there.
Computer I forgot I owned.
Yeah.
Which is a story in itself.
Also something that Jason said on the last podcast, he said he hated AC/DC. And I was like, wow, I don't know anybody that hates.
I know people that don't care for AC/DC.
Really?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. So there's
people out there that hate the Beatles, which I never understood. But
yeah, I know. So remember when I had that voice modulator?
Oh, with Zip Tie and Stephen Hawkins.
And I sang... I think I sing Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap. I went back and listened to that because I thought I was going to bring it up and put it in here. And the you laughing in the background is the best part of that whole skit because I start singing and all I can hear is you in the background howling laughing. So what I'll do is I will take and put a link to that episode of Brand X. And also when we were talking about the smell of the vagina, remember Smelly Clam?
Yeah.
Oh, Smelly Clam with the gynecologist.
Sir Lancelot?
What was her name? I can't think of her name either now.
Oh.
I'll put the link to that in there.
Years ago. I forget shit.
I do too. But that was a good one. And the thing was that after we did Oh Smelly Clam, I went into Twitter and I put her in the tweet. And she went and listened to it. And then remember, she was like, she got all her people coming over. And that's when they tried to cancel me.
Well, that's when we put the disclaimer at the bottom. Because one of our friends said that this podcast is pure and utter garbage or something. So we just used it as our
disclaimer.
Yeah, as our. Right. So,
on the artwork.
Yeah, embrace it.
Yeah. And so then the next week, she got an article in the New York Post about how 3 guys on their podcast made fun of her stinky vagina.
That must have been Joe here then.
Yeah, it was the 3 of us.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And so then the name of the podcast, the first one was Oh Smelly Clam, and then the second was The Revenge of the Clam. Yeah, I'll tell you what, the Brand X podcast back then, we had a lot of fun with it. There's some unbelievably funny episodes back then. And we need to get back to that. I'm trying to figure out I got to get the magic.
What have we been doing?
I don't know.
We got to get back to it. I'm doing the best as I can. I'm here dancing.
I'm dancing. I'm shucking
like
and
Daffy
jiving.
Duck on stage, like all out of breath, panting, and Bugs Bunny just sticks his head out.
Listen, I will say this is my fault because I brought up too much politics. And you don't like talking about politics, so I won't do that anymore.
I don't think people like it.
I understand.
It gets back what I was talking about lurkers on Facebook.
Yeah.
People are out there. They just don't engage. Like. But you throw a picture up there of a good time you had at Christmas. Oh wait. You throw a picture up like that, and that's what people like. Obvious, safe. Like, hey, here's me at a birthday party, and you get like a 1,000 likes.
I don't want safe though. Not for this show. I want to go out there and I want to dance on some minefields.
Yeah, but you get that reputation and people just stop tuning in eventually.
You think so? Or do they come and they say, listen, here's some guys that are sitting there and they're talking about shit that no one else will talk about?
Nah.
Ugh.
See, I'm out in the wide world. You're not. You're hunkered down here like a prepper.
It's true.
You know, because when stuff comes up and like you can just see people roll in, no one cares because it's just, in my opinion, just the vibe that I get when I'm out mingling is that people are so inundated now with constant politics, 24/7, MSNBC, Fox News, CNN. People are just tired of it.
Well, what do we talk? I mean, can't we just make fun of the people? Like this whole thing. I'm going to go back to the Buffalo Bill player that.
Yeah, that's a miracle that guy. And that was really a routine. We were sitting in the bar after work during that Monday night game, and we watched it. And I just happened to be looking at the screen, and he just fell backwards. I went, "Holy shit!" And all my buddies that were there with me, why? I said, "That dude just passed out." And we just, they must have knocked the wind out of him because it looked like a routine hit. It wasn't like he got speared or a head-to-head or anything like that. It was just a regular play.
I'm telling you right now, if it wasn't for the training staff,
that
went
guy
out there,
sprang into action like Batman.
If it wasn't for him, that guy'd be dead.
Yeah, no doubt.
So then you're like, okay, well, what happened? Well, he just got hit in the chest with his head, and it was just at the right time with the heartbeat. And I'm like, really? We're going with that? Is that where we're going?
Well, I believe that because I don't know if you remember, but your kids are a little bit older than my son, for the most part. So when my son was playing Little League, there was these instances of kids, Little League baseball players, getting hit in the chest by fastballs and killing them because it was stopping their heart and they would just die right there on the field because there was no one there to take care of them. That a lot of states and a lot of towns and Little League associations started making these kids wear breastplates that would protect that side of their chest in case they got hit. So I actually buy that.
Okay.
That could be something.
But I saw the hit.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching the NFL for years and years and years. Here's the thing. Maybe it's true. But shouldn't we look at everything? Everything that went on, his whole medical history, everything that happened. Shouldn't we look at everything?
From what I understand, he's a pretty healthy guy.
Of course he is.
But a lot of these Little Leaguers were kids, and they were pretty healthy too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and
I'm willing to accept that. If not for the fact that my kid was playing Little League, and I remember when they instituted that rule, I probably would not. I would probably be like you and question that. But that's to me is an acceptable explanation. But it doesn't preclude them from continuing to look into things.
There was another player from another team, college team, who collapsed on the field and died. They just had a basketball player drop over.
Mm-hmm.
I think he died also. So we have all these young, healthy athletes.
And in England, they have a problem with the footballers. They call them their soccer
footballers
players.
over there. Yep.
So,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're finding all that blood clots. That it's like long, viscous ropes of stuff clogging their veins up and stuff.
Yeah, you know as well as anybody else, you can get those blood clots from just getting COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be, but we need to know. If these guys are going to go out there and start playing, we need to know what.
There's clots that they were finding in the undertakers were discovering them.
They were discovered.
And they were like, during the embalming process, they drained all the blood out of the body, and the bodies weren't draining out. So they had to do a couple of, but then they found out that these blood clots were like, they weren't made out of proteins, right? They were just long, looked like spaghetti almost. It was like long, white or grayish matter, and I didn't know what the hell it was.
Right. So here's the thing. And again, what I want it opened up to vigorous scrutiny.
Did the NFL have mandatory vaccinations?
Yes, they did.
I don't think they had mandatory.
Oh, no, they did. They did because Aaron Rodgers got in trouble because he said he was vaccinated, but he wasn't.
I think they backed off on that.
They might have now. I know they just did it for the military. They just did away with the vaccine. I'm not even saying it's the vaccine. I'm not saying it. I'm saying it could be COVID. It could be something. But the fact that we can't look at everything, if you can't look at everything, then you might as well look at nothing. Let the scientists go in there and do what scientists do. Go in there, find a hypothesis, and try to prove it or disprove it or whatever it is. But put everything on the table, and let's find out what's going on here. But what I don't want to see is people take things off the table because it's political. I don't want to see that. Maybe it is. Maybe the guy just
1 in a million chance. Yeah.
1 in a million chance. Maybe that's what happened. But let's prove it. Let's find out if he had any problem with his heart swelling or anything like that. Was there any kind of blood clots? We don't know.
It's just great to hear that he came out of it with no brain damage, or because being in that state for they worked on him for 9 minutes.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, it could have been brain damage. He wasn't oxygen
breathing.
Deprivation. And,
he wasn't breathing, and his heart had stopped, and they incubated him right on the field. And that's why all the players are upset, because they saw that happening right on the field. The players came out and circled.
Wait a minute, you said incubated.
What's the word?
You resuscitated them?
No. Well, you put the tube down their throat. What's that called?
Oh, ventilated.
I thought it was
an incubator is what they hatch baby chicken eggs in, or they put newborn children into.
Fuck. I gotta leave it in here.
Incubator. I don't remember the wheel in an incubator out there.
What is it called now? Motherfucker.
A ventilator?
But they I thought it was called I don't know. God damn it.
They stick it down your throat to help you breathe. That's a ventilator.
Hang on, I gotta ask Google. Hey Google, what is it when they take a tube and put it down your throat to help you breathe? What's that called?
A face hugger.
On the website nhs.uk, they say, a tracheostomy is an opening created at the front of the neck so a tube can be inserted into the windpipe
No. All right.
to help you breathe. If necessary, the tube can be connected to an oxygen supply and a breathing machine called a ventilator.
That's a tracheometer. Yes.
Ask what a ventilator is.
Well, I know what a ventilator is.
See what she says. That bitch, she knows so much.
Hey Google, what's a ventilator?
According to Wikipedia, a ventilator is a piece of medical technology that provides mechanical ventilation by moving breathable air into and out of the lungs to deliver breaths to a patient who is physically unable to breathe or breathing insufficiently.
All right. So that.
Incubator.
God damn it. It's a different word.
Hey,
it's close.
I hear you, because I know there's a portion of this podcast when I listen back to it that I'm going to misspeak and say something. Because I catch at least one every time. So it just
it's two old guys on the interwebs just talking about shit they thought they heard on the internet. All right, everybody. We'll be back next month. Thank you for joining us. You can follow us on Twitter at BrandXPod. And we are also Facebook, Brand X Podcast. And
this ain't going to take 28 days to get out like the last one.
No, it won't.
You forgot how busy Christmas is?
Jesus, yes.
Recorded on December the 2nd, and it goes out on the 28th.
I know. Well, the thing was that we had two different recordings because your computer just shut down, and I had to, and it was one of those things where I was like, I got to do this, and I was like, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. But it wasn't really that bad, and it sounded good when I got done. So there we go. All right, and then look at it. There we are, right around 2 hours again.
Adios, bitches.
All right, adios, bitches. Will you shut the fuck up so I can end the recording?
That's it. We're just getting into it.